Hey peeps, and welcome. I am Gray Summers, and today I wanted to talk more about um, some stereotypes that some people have made um, of me, and some assumptions that some people have made from me, uh, mainly either out in public or at work or just with some friends and just all around. Ex- just talk about some crazy stuff, some weird stuff. So, the first thing I do want to talk about is the big. I want to say one of the bigger issues that I know there are some trans people out there that have, which is that trans women are like very perverted and they get turned on in the bathrooms. Is I do know that there are some of my coworkers have asked, um, am I gonna get turned on in the bathroom? And I'm just gonna be blunt. No, it's not my job to get turned on in the locker room. It's not something that is a goal of mine. I'm not trying to. I'm just there to do my business and that's it. And if you're there to do your business, I don't care. That is not my concern. It is not my problem. Um, Another thing involving the bathroom is that people have been asking me if I want to use the bathroom by myself or like the locker room by myself, and I or they just don't want to go in there and they tell people just wait till they leave, just wait till he leaves, is what some people are saying, and I'm not okay with that, but I guess it's what people think and what people say and people assume. Now, um I know the concept of like the bathroom and the locker room is this like big weird thing, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of, at least the majority of trans people, in a way, kind of think the same way as like any other person would when it comes to like going into the bathroom or using a locker room. They just are there to use it, and it, using the locker room or the bathroom that makes them feel comfortable is what's going to make them feel better about themselves. Not, they're not intending to just go into the bathroom just to go into the bathroom. That is not their goal. That is not what they're going to do. And that's that's pretty much it. Like, I, at least from my knowledge and from what I've seen other people say and what other people do, um, that's that's that. Another thing that people ask, or at least are stereotypically asking, is that at least with trans women, I don't know about trans men, and I can't say that I know because I really don't. But they are bringing up what, like, I'm doing it to just get a chest, and I'm doing it to have actual boobs. And being honest, that is also not the case. I'm not, like, don't get me wrong, I have a body euphoria, like I feel better about myself because of how my body is changing, but it's not just for that. It's not just for the physical features, but it's more or less to make me feel better mentally and emotionally, as well as making myself feel more comfortable about being who I am and what I see on the outside as well as on the inside. And generally, I don't think I care enough to be like, oh, I got boobs. It's crazy. but I do know that there are some people who have been very stereotypically like just trying to ask, and a lot of people assume it's about the physicality of what is going on, whereas I don't think. Now, I can't just be like, oh, I know all trans women are like this and all trans men are like this, because I don't. I've met trans women who have these giant spectrums of opinions that are like wide and far ranging from mine. And I don't, there are some opinions of some trans women that I've talked to that I don't agree at all. But that's okay. And just because they don't agree with my views doesn't make them any less valid as a trans woman. So I don't see why a person would want to. I can see why, but I just don't. I can't wrap my mind around why a person thinks that, why a person thinks this way. Um, and another thing that I think people assume is that I'm gonna go through everything. I'm gonna go do all the surgery. I'm gonna go through and my body is gonna change, my voice is gonna change, and the voice, at least for me, the voice has changed where I know it's gotten tougher to make a lower voice, but there's also practice going into making the voice and practice trying to sound more feminine. It's like a singer can hit different pitches and they use their vocal cords to change the range of how they sing. It's pretty much the same thing when it comes to like speaking and having vocals, and when it comes to talking. And I also know that there are some people who assume, and I was guilty of this, assume that I have to speak in a higher pitched voice. I have to try to sound more feminine. And there are moments where I just don't feel comfortable talking the way I do or speaking the way I do. But I know that it doesn't have to. I know of cis women who have really deep voices, and some people just do. And some cis men have really high pitched voices, or their voices crack. And it's okay because that's what makes us human. And I just know that this concept with like this giant spectrum of like, oh, trans people have to be this way. And the honest answer is they don't. They don't. It's when you go, you can take the general idea of us being human, but then when you go male versus female, or even non binary, those are in separate categories altogether. So then you start getting more detailed. And when you get into the transgender, that is a category in itself, and that has a wide range. There's some people that want to be called sissy, and some people who find that offensive. And I want to say that the majority of trans people don't want to be called tranny, um, because it's just it's negative or shemale. And I know that there is a big misconception in the because of the porn industry with trans people altogether, because well, trans women have their own category, and people get turned on by it, which is what I'll bring into another video, because I'll talk about that in a different video. But it's it can become a problem, and it can be very disgusting. Now, I have been asked whether or not I'm going to start dressing more feminine. And the thing is, to answer questions to anybody, the way I dress shouldn't really matter, because clothes don't care. I mean, I don't remember the last time a shirt or pair of pants, cared about what you were as a person. And I know that cross dressing is a thing. I do know. And I know that some people consider trans cross dressers and they don't they think that they just dress in the opposite sex's clothes because it makes them feel better or makes them feel or they're just weird or creepy or whatever, what have you. And personally, I don't think cross dressers and transgender, like a person who's transgender could also cross dress, but I don't want to say all trans are cross dressers and all cross dressers are trans because that is not the case. There's some people who are very valid with what their body is and who they are, but just feel more comfortable in the opposite sex's clothes. And like I said, it's okay. Once again, we're all human, but I do know that there are some people who don't agree with that and they think that you're not going into, like, you're not going to be going to heaven or you're committing sin or you're just an abomination. And I I can't understand why a person thinks that way. I know that a person thinks that way, but I can't understand it. And it sometimes hurts and it sometimes can get really like out of whack and like it's a big spectrum in itself. And I know that when it comes to looks, I've even had somebody ask me, well, you're gonna have to start wearing new socks. You're gonna have to start going and getting girl socks. And I'm personally like not understanding why, because it doesn't need to be a thing, but I have literally have been asked or told that I need to start doing that, and that's not the case. Don't get me wrong. There are some girl socks that I find adorable, and I buy them because I find them cute and adorable, and that's just my opinion. And I know that there are some trans women who are very tomboyish, but they identify as a woman, and it's okay. It's okay for a trans woman to be into sports, and it's okay for trans men to be more into, I want to say, more of a feminine, like, I don't know, like, concept with makeup or just wearing, like, they are okay with the shirts that they wear or the pants they wear or whatever. I just know that people have this, like, they expect you to dress a certain way, they expect you to act a certain way, and I get that because I'm not, the trans community is not the only community that gets put under this this idea that you have to be this certain way. And I personally think that it's not okay for a group of people to actually start doing that, but it happens and people think that their opinions like matter and think that their opinions are like right. And like I said, I understand, but it's just the concept with like people stereotypically or just trying to acknowledge that I'm this way because I've identified this way. And there are some people who think like when it comes to the emotions, some people think that, oh, well, you're just going to be this whiny person all the time. You're going to be complaining. You're going to be this emotional wreck. And I don't want to deal with you. And I say to that, it's not necessarily the case. Hormones is literally what controls our body. And guys and girls have both hormones. It's just usually women have higher estrogen and lower testosterone, and men usually have high testosterone and lower estrogen. But it can be the reversal. And I think I've talked about it in a previous video, but it's like women can have higher testosterone, which is what makes them grow, they can grow facial hair, or they have some sort of like dilemma with how they look because they don't look right or they don't feel okay. And sometimes they have to take hormones. I I know of somebody that is with one of the YouTube channels. They have a person who has to take testosterone to keep his his figure and his facial hair in, because he has a low testosterone and that's how his body produces, which it's okay, but he has to take hormones, and he's not trying to be trans. He is a cis man, but he takes testosterone to boost his testosterone level, and that's okay. So I tell people the concept of like it being on an emotional stance, and don't get me wrong, the majority of trans women, I'm assuming, but this is what I'm talking about. uh, I'm assuming that their emotions can get imbalanced. It's not a surprise, or at least they start having more of an imbalance in emotions due to the change in their hormones. It's the same thing with trans males. If you're having a huge imbalance in hormones, it's like going through puberty, and that's what they'll say. And like my doctor's like, it's going through puberty all over again, and it can get to be an emotional roller coaster. I know for me, I have emotions going all over, and I know as of, I want to say, the past couple days, I've had an emotional roller coaster because there's been a lot of stuff going on in my life that's just overwhelming for me, mentally and emotionally, and it can be very emotionally draining, and adding the hormones doesn't really help. Now, another thing is that people will speculate both that the genital area just shrinks, like your the penis shrinks, the testicles shrink, and some people don't experience change. Like I said, it varies. It varies with a person. I do know that the majority of trans folk want to just be respected and acknowledged as what they identify as a gender, whether it's they them, like their pronouns, they them, he, him, she, her, z, zim, I think it is. I butcher that. It's still trying. Z-zer, I think it is. But either way, people are trying to identify, and they're trying to have this like balance of like being respected and not being either put on this higher pedestal or just being thrown under the bus and being discriminated against. And the thing is, I feel like I've experienced both, where there are people that will go out of their way to make me feel overly welcome, or they tried to make me overly welcome, and they tried to make me feel better about myself, while at the same time pushing me on a level above them. And personally, I don't want that. I just want to be acknowledged as a woman, and talk about girl talk, with my friends, or go out here and there, and just enjoy life as a woman, and that's all I want to do. And I know that people, it's a newer concept, at least in the states, it's a newer concept, but you have people from all over, and they're different. Trans people aren't just white. They aren't just this black and white situation. It's a big gray area full of a multiverse of people, and there is different cultures. There's different religions. There are some trans who are Christian, some trans who are Catholic, and there are some churches that accept them and invite them in, and then there are churches that don't. And you have, like I said, you have a higher spectrum. And I wanted to talk about like stereotypes, and what people have assumed or presumed that who you are or what you're doing, and I've given at least my take, a little bit of my take. Now there's always a big talk about, yeah, you don't know what another person feels or thinks, which is usually why when I make videos, and I know I tend to make longer videos than what I try to strive for, but it happens. I tend to pass the question on to you. Have you experienced? Have you heard somebody experience? What have you witnessed? Whether it's trans or just ethnicity altogether, like your race, the color of your skin, the the body that you have. Because I know that there are people who fat shame, and I hate people who fat shame because um, beauty should be on the inside, but that's another topic altogether, or it might not be. Um, but I always pass the question on to you. What have you heard that people have assumed? I know that there's definitely those racial stereotypes and sexist stereotypes like women can't drive, women should belong in the kitchen, and I know that a lot of people use that for humor, but it can be very negative. It can be very negative. So, anyway, I'm going to call this video here. Don't forget to hit like and make a comment, like I said, anything at all. If you have any stereotypes, I'm more than willing to listen. I like listening. I like reading, and I will pay attention to what another person said. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe for more content. I have realized I'm uploading on a month-to-month basis as of late. I'm gonna try to make another video sometime in the near future, and probably upload that as well within the week because there are a couple topics I wanted to talk about and maybe make some updates on my life and what's going on in my life. So, but I I digress. Like I said, it's literally life. And oh, and I have a GoFundMe. You can donate if you want. It is going to be most likely I'm gonna have to change it for my teeth because I have bought a laser tool kit I found and somebody recommended it to me, so I was pretty happy about it. And I'm gonna try it. So I don't think I'm gonna need the laser from a company. I'm gonna try this and most likely take the money that I've gotten from my GoFundMe and put it towards my teeth. But until then, I will see you guys and gals and peeps of all kinds whenever that may be. Until then, peace. Hey!